What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Week 0 has come and gone. It is so great to finally have college football back. And today, we're going to be going over my 5 biggest takeaways from Week 0, ranging from everything to Notre Dame's dominant win over the Navy midshipmen in Dublin, Ireland, to, hey, maybe this USC defense still has a lot of work to do, ranging from some of the rule changes that college football will see this year. Hey, thank you guys so much for the support on the channel during my Week 0 previews. It is absolutely insane the support the channel is getting right now. I cannot thank you guys enough. If you guys want to continue to show support, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, so you know when videos get uploaded during the college football season. But there are more ways than that to help me support my channel. You are doing one right now by watching the video, and you guys can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, anything else you guys are willing and able to do to help me support my channel would mean a lot to me. So let's now dive into my biggest takeaways from Week 0. And we're going to start with just kind of a general thing that I noticed, and it had to do with some rule changes that are coming in to college football this year. The game times, in my opinion, are going to decrease. And actually, that's not even my opinion. My opinion is that it's going to lead to a faster pace of play. But the game times decreasing is a fact. The Notre Dame Navy game, the first game to kick off the college football season, started at around 1:42 local time for me. I believe that's about when first kickoff was, maybe a little after that, not quite sure. But the game did finish at around 4:30 local time, which is under 3 hours of a football game. And I know Navy runs the triple option and everything like that, but it has to do with the rule changes. Teams are now no longer allowed to call back-to-back timeouts. So basically, if you call a timeout to ice the kicker, you can't call a second one to ice the kicker for a second time. Or if you call a timeout, hey, you have plenty of time to get your guys out there and set. If they're not set, don't know what to do, you have to take that delay of game penalty. So there is one rule, but the bigger rule change is that the clock will no longer stop after first downs to let the chains reset before the clock continues to run. So that's kind of what the NFL does as well, is after first downs, hey, the clock just keeps moving. The only way that the clock stops here in college football is inside 2 minutes. Is inside 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarter. After first downs, they will stop to reset the chains. And that just led to faster game times all around. College football used to be where you have 3.5 hours of game time, maybe even 4 hours. Games would last so long, and these clock rules seem to have already shortened game times. So now what's going to happen to teams that like to play fast? Well, in my opinion, time of possession is going to be even more crucial than it already is in college football, just because of these clock rules. We saw it yesterday, how much it can really affect some of these teams, and the time of possession becomes very, very important now, in my opinion. And the number of drives are going to decrease. The number of plays are significantly going to decrease. So that's just kind of a general observation that I had about the rule changes, and we saw it take place yesterday as well. So there's takeaway number 5. Let's dive into some actual games that were played yesterday, shall we? Jacksonville State got their first ever win as an FBS program over the UTEP Miners, and hey, they could be the 2023 version of James Madison, but they have a lot of work to do. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start out with the fact that UTEP outgained Jacksonville State by almost 100 yards. It was 364 to 277, albeit it was a very, very sloppy game by UTEP. They had a lot of miscues, 5 penalties for 55 yards, 3 turnovers for the UTEP Miners. Did I say UMASS in that? Apologies if I said UMass, but I meant UTEP. We'll be talking about UMass later, don't you worry. But it was just a very sloppy game by UTEP, made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of turnovers, only 3 of 12 on third down. There was a lot that UTEP can clean up, but they did have 5 more minutes of time of possession. So back to just what I talked about with time of possession. UTEP did have the ball offensively for almost 5 more minutes. They were able to drive down the field. I believe there were a couple missed field goals in there as well. Overall, it's just a very, very sloppy game. You do see on your left-hand side, though, Jeremiah Harris's game-winning interception that sealed the deal for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. But again, Jacksonville State has more work to do than just on the defensive end as well. Zion Webb, the quarterback, only 67 passing yards. There was only 277 yards of total offense, period. The rushing attack did what Jacksonville State's rushing attack does. 5 yards per carry, 210 yards. It was really good. However, Zion Webb, that quarterback position, has got to get better. So Jacksonville State, maybe we could see this team explode onto the Conference USA scene now as an FBS program, but they do have a lot of work to do, as I just mentioned. Let's focus ahead now on another team that really made a statement yesterday, and that was the UMass Minutemen. How about the Minutemen, everyone, beating the New Mexico State Aggies on the road in Las Cruces 41-30? And hey, could UMass be this year's UConn? I definitely think it's a possibility. In my season previews, I did not have UMass having a very good win-loss record. However, I did say, watch out for this team because they definitely can explode onto the scene. They have a lot of great 3-star, 4-star transfers. Or not 3-star, 4-star transfers, 3-star transfers, and some even former 4-stars coming out of high school as well. So UMass with a drastically improved offense, a defense that saw its jump last year under Don Brown, and now the offense is starting to see its jump as well. But the big question for UMass is, that I had coming into the season, is will the quarterback position fail them again? And right now it doesn't look that way. Tyson Fomacon, apologies if I said that name wrong, but he is a former Clemson and Georgia Tech quarterback, came over to play quarterback for this team. 10 of 17 for 192 yards, had a 69.2 QBR. Not a bad first outing for him, especially on the ground. 17 carries for 96 yards, 5.6 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Karen Lynch-Adams had 79 yards for 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. So there's just a lot of improvement overall. You actually had a couple really long passes, a 68-yarder to Christian Wells connected for the UMass Minutemen, and they kind of exposed this New Mexico State defense that really took a jump last year, 389 yards overall, but albeit, my apologies, there still is room to grow for this UMass team, especially defensively. Why? 470 yards allowed by the UMass Minutemen. Now, again, fairly sloppy game by New Mexico State. They did also have 3 turnovers while possessing the ball for almost 2 more minutes. They did have more passing yards, more rushing yards, more yards overall, but again, were not as successful on third down. They were 3 of 9, while UMass was 4 of 12. So UMass making a statement here in week 0, but there's still a lot of work to do for Don Brown's Minutemen, that is for sure. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the bigger games that we saw in week 0. Now, starting out with the game in Dublin, Ireland, my number 2 biggest takeaway from week 0, and honestly, you could put this as the biggest takeaway and move the one I have at number 1 down to 2. But Notre Dame looks like a college football playoff contender. Now, albeit there are a lot of missed opportunities by the Navy midshipmen, but Notre Dame looked really, really, really good. They won in Dublin, Ireland, 42-3. You saw Audric Estime with 5.9 yards per carry, 16 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. You saw the emergence of this Notre Dame wide receiver core, especially freshman Jaden Greathouse, 3 catches, 68 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the freshman in his first ever collegiate game. However, speaking of the wide receiver core, there were at times where they looked lost, not really connecting on their routes. That's something that they're going to have to clean up, but Sam Hartman was more than perfect. Had a 97.9 QBR, 251 yards, 4 touchdowns. Oh, and he had the same number of incompletions that he did touchdowns. A Class A performance from Sam Hartman and this Notre Dame defense as well, especially that linebacking unit with Leofau, Bertrand, and Kaiser. It was just a masterclass of a football game, and in my opinion, this could elevate Notre Dame to a college football playoff contender, a bona fide college football playoff contender, not just a team that's maybe looking on the outside, trying to get in and maybe having a couple things bounce their way. No, Notre Dame really is a team that I think can make a run towards the college football playoff. I was that impressed, especially with their defense yesterday on the scene. But speaking of defense, my number 1 takeaway from week 0 is the fact that, if my slide would change, USC's defense, the Trojans, still needs a ton of work. We know what the offense is, right? Caleb Williams, a loaded group of wide receivers. You have Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd in the backfield for this team as well. But I mean, this is an absolutely loaded offensive unit. I don't think I have to say it. Caleb Williams was pretty good. 18 of 25, 278 yards, and 4 touchdowns, including another just Heisman-like moment where he had to get rid of the ball. He was under pressure, just kind of chucked it up and went for a long touchdown pass. I believe that was a 76-yard touchdown pass to Taj Washington there. So an incredible play made by Caleb Williams, but the story of this takeaway is not about their offense. It is about the Trojan defense. San Jose State had 24 first downs. That's almost as much as USC had. 396 yards. They had 5.2 yards per pass, 7.3 yards per carry. They had 198 yards on the ground. And San Jose State, albeit didn't affect the game much, even outpossessed USC's offense as well. So the defense, just not a whole lot of support for the offense, which is what we saw out of USC last season. It is what helped keep them out of the college football playoff. It is what really diminished their chances to beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. In fact, losing to them twice throughout the season last year. So not Notre Dame, USC. There is still a lot of improvement to be made on this defense. Even though they added a ton of depth, a ton of talent is here. Siobhan Cordero was really, really good in this game. San Jose State was really able to carve whatever path they wanted. So USC still got a lot of room to grow on defense. We know what the offense is. Let's see what improvements the defense can make moving forward. I believe they end up having Nevada next week. But those were my 5 biggest takeaways from week 0. I thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if my slide would change, geez. Hey, those were my week 0 takeaways. Let me know any other takeaways, or if you have anything to add on to my takeaways, leave it in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I look forward to all of you guys watching my week 1 previews, as the first full weekend of college football is coming up very, very soon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.